Hi, Kathy and Jeff back again, this time for Unit 9.
Hi.
The standard for this unit is 4-LS1-1. Construct an argument that animals and plants have internal and external structures that support their survival, growth, behavior, and reproduction.
There are many different things you can do with the standard and many resources available too. You'll see looking at Atlas that there are quite a few informational text articles along with Discovery Ed videos for you to use with your students. There are some excellent resources including activities.
For the must-do activity for this unit, we are looking at natural selection and using bird beaks as our example. After doing this investigation, students will be able to identify adaptations within a species of bird and be able to explain the benefits of each adaptation.
They should also be able to identify environmental factors affecting the success of individuals within a population.
One of the most basic needs of all living things is food. The ability of an animal to get enough food depends on a couple of things. The type of tool the animal has, and tools could be things like their teeth or jaw, or for us it's hands, and also the type of food available. Through this investigation, students will learn how these factors interact.
Birds use their beaks in many ways that support their survival, growth, behavior, and reproduction. They use them to eat, defend themselves, feed their young, build nests, scratch, court, and attack.
So the size and the shape of the beak is specific for the food that bird gathers. Some birds, like cardinals, have thick bills that they use to crack seeds. Hummingbirds have long, thin bills to sip nectar. We're going to model the 5E learning cycle for you as we show you some resources and talk about the activity for this unit. I would start with a formative assessment, asking the students to just write about what they know about adaptations in general. And then for the first D, our engage, we think it would be fun to play the song Rockin' Robin and show them some of the pictures of the birds in the song.
Now for the second E, explore. Tell the students that the goal in this activity is to gather enough food to be healthy and strong so that they can grow and reproduce, thereby passing their genes to the next generation. This is a collaborative group activity. If possible, students should be in groups of 4.
So the materials that you're going to want to have on hand include some plastic spoons, binder clips. I'd use different size binder clips too, that could be fun. Some tweezers or forceps, and wooden skewers or small dowels. Now these materials would be the model for different types of bird beaks.
And for food, you could use paper clips, dried macaroni, marbles, toothpicks, rubber bands. We're not using real seeds here because this is a model. You may want to have cups of water to simulate nectar too. In addition, you'll need a plastic cup to be the bird's stomach. A cardboard tray or paper plate helps to keep the materials contained.
So you're going to tell your students that they are hungry birds. The first student in the group is going to select one of the bird beaks, and they can only use that beak to pick up the food. This tray with all the different food types on it represents the bird's habitat, where it lives, and the available food. When students are doing this activity, they can only pick up food with the beak. There's no hands.
Right.
And you'll see the second hand, Jeff in his second hand has a cup. That's to represent the bird's stomach.
Another student in the group will act as the timer. When they say go, the bird has 20 seconds to gather as much of the food as they can from the tray using the beak they've selected. When the timer says stop, the bird empties their stomach and counts the food they've eaten. Everyone in the group records the data in the table below.
So now it's time for another bird to eat. They must pick a different type of beak and then eat for 20 seconds. The data is recorded, the process is repeated until all 4 of the beak types have been tried.
At this point, we'll work on our next E, which is explain. The teacher has the groups report out while completing a class data chart. The class records how much food was picked up by each type of beak. Student groups then answer the following prompts together, such as write a short summary of the procedure you used to complete this activity. Write a short summary that describes what you learned from completing this activity, including examples from the data that we collected.
Then we suggest that you pose some new how or why questions that might prompt a little critical thinking, or some questions that you might have concerning the topic of this activity. Which beak was best adapted to each type of food? Which beak was least adapted to each type of food?
Would you change your feeding strategy if you had another opportunity to feed? What would happen if all the bird types in this activity flew to an island where no birds had been before and the only type of food available was the elastic band?
So on that island, which birds would be the most successful? Which birds would be the least successful? And if you came back to this island in 50 years, what would you expect to see? What type of birds will live on this island?
Come back together, and in Chapter 3, you'll see it's about adaptations. The essential question for Lesson 1 is, how do the bodies of animals help meet their needs? Use the chapter to further explain. There's also a minute-long Discovery Ed video segment that explains the topic.
For the extend part of our unit, this could be a computer simulation where students have to match the beak with the food the birds eat to survive. Jeff found a really good one we're going to show you on projectbeak.org.
Lastly, we have our E for evaluate. Students will choose an animal and they'll research how and where the animal lives. Then they'll write a raft. We'll show you in a minute the model if you're unfamiliar with the strategy. In the raft, they're going to include information on how the animal has internal and external structures that support its survival, growth, behavior, and reproduction.
And that evaluate's really going to bring us back to the standard that we started for this unit. So we do know that your students will greatly benefit from this hands-on, minds-on science.
And by now, we all know that science matters.